And with this, I am happy to hand over to Rolando Casanova. As I said earlier, he's Managing Director of Internel in Poland, and Internel is really offering this fulfillment service as a one-stop shop in Poland for the EU. And he will share some market data on e-commerce with you, focusing on B2C, if I'm right. Rolando?
Thanks, Nadia. First of all, regards from sunny Warsaw, the capital of Poland, and I'm very happy to be here with you for the next few moments. We see a slide here. Before I'm talking about us, this is a slide to tease you a bit. You will see this a million times on the web. It obviously shows you, or those who still think how to and when to enter the European Union, that there is great potential out there in sales. There is great potential. It doesn't include the coronavirus wave that we've seen coming over in spring. However, the trend is even fueled on further. Now, that's not a commercial for e-commerce. It just shows you that that is going to be what's happening even more. It will also fuel up, unfortunately, what is called in Switzerland Ladensterbe, or in the US, it's already known as the shopping mall apocalypse. So this chart, just to tell you where we're all heading to. Now, quick about Internel. What we do, and why I'm sharing these slides here with you, is we are a fulfillment house. As Nadia said, we're picking, packing, and storing products in Poland for customers selling the whole of Europe and the European Union. And we are actually linked with 11 fulfillment houses in 11 EU member countries to share knowledge, to share market knowledge about consumer behavior and so on. So we do know quite a lot. And we see a lot of e-shops coming to work with us. From 10 e-shops, 3 fail within 6 to 9 months. And they actually do fail mostly because they don't ask the right questions at the beginning, or they make strategic, I would say, mistakes in decisions. And there are 3 questions that each online business wanting to conquer the European Union should raise. The first question is very banal: what I want to sell. It's pretty easy. Once that decision is made, the question is going to be where I want to sell. And Nadia said it before, they want to sell on a marketplace, Amazon, AliExpress, Etsy, whatever, they are coming to Europe now, or are already established, or do I want to go direct and sell with my own e-shop to customers or consumers? This is a major question which will lead to failure or success depending on the products. And I think one more important thing before we move to the next slide, actually we can move to the next slide, please, is that we need to understand when you come, or online retailers from Switzerland or the US, when they come to European Union, who is the customer, who is the consumer, how are the countries working? You see on that slide, there are 2 colors, green and blue. And in principle, those are the markets that an online shop will conquer. And you can also make it across, I would say, around Europe, which goes obviously north against south, west against east, and you pretty much have the coloring there. And that depends here, how are you going to sell your product? So there's not a one market European Union, there are actually 27 economies, 27 required local carriers like postal services to be used for each customer, 27 different ways how to communicate with the client. I would like just on that slide to look a bit at the main things. When you look at green, now this is not against Spain or Italy, which obviously also want to be green. It's more about infrastructure and economy. You probably have the best economies in Europe as a green, and that means pretty much people have more money to spend. They're eagerly more willing to go online as in the blue markets, which is usually Central Eastern Europe, south of Europe. And you see on the annual e-sales grow also a bit of a different growth pace, whereas the blue markets, which are a bit behind, increase heavily in e-commerce sales. The more saturated Western markets make it still above 10% of growth, but finally they are growing slower. So the question for an e-commerce company, I'm coming to Europe, is where do I start first? Obviously, most choose first the green parts, and you can have a look there at green. There is highlighted in the middle there are two fundamental differences between consumers in those markets, what they look for. So the green ones, they want comfort. Comfort means, since the infrastructure in the country is usually very good, there are enough motorways, there are functioning national postal services, they would like to have same-day deliveries, deliveries at least the latest the next day out, which is very clear and a must in those countries to succeed. Whereas the markets in blue, they usually want the safety. They want to have a parcel. They want to have it, if best, on time or at least not lost, saying that a bit more negatively. And these are actually the main difference how to tackle the market. And to give you one small hint about how difficult or different EU markets can be, if you look at for example, the last two, place of delivery and communication, you'll see that the developed markets, they of course would like to have the parcels that they order online at home, at work. They will be put in the mailbox without a problem. Whereas in in the Eastern or in the blue market economies, we want to be more safe. We don't want to have it home necessarily. We want to have it in a locker. We don't have the infrastructure to have plenty of post offices around, so we want to have it in a courier or a grocery shop around the corner. And give you an example of cash on delivery terms that in Western economies are not known any longer. Greece, for example, 60% of all online sales are going cash on delivery. In Poland, we are at the pace of 25 to 30%. That means if a Western online retailer comes to the East and says, I don't want to have that, there is a big chance to lose or to not make 30% of the sales, or in Greece, even 60. Last one is phone calls. You can have a look. When you buy online in Switzerland or Germany, you usually do not have any phone communication with any e-shop. You just get a parcel, you get an SMS, an email, you're happy with it. When it comes to the blue markets, for example, Bulgaria, you are called. It is normal that you order online, you are called from someone from the shop to confirm that you have made this delivery. If you would do that in Switzerland or Germany, it would be called molesting. Whereas this is very normal business habit in some of the blue market colors. So question number one after obviously two, first is which product in which markets would bring us to the next slide. And this was also raised before. And the question is very, very simple. Where am I going to sell? Now, if you think of Middle Ages, when someone wanted to sell something, she had to go to a marketplace and pay something to be there with a stand. And obviously there will be 20, 50, 100 stands selling the same. So that is pretty much online what's going to happen today with Amazon, AliExpress, Allegro, whatever they're called. There are pros and cons to be on a marketplace, which is here in green color on the slide. And obviously the sales platform or the sales online store addressing directly the client with the products is pretty much what we know from a stationary brick and mortar shop, which you find in every main street of this world. You can have a look at the pros and cons by yourself. I'm just going to summarize them very quickly. The pro, of course, of a marketplace and the decision to be made, whom do I want to sell, is in a marketplace, you go global, regional, continental. You can sell immediately to everybody. And the main negative is surely you have a broad competition. There's thousands of traders or hundreds of traders. They sell the same products, which answers mainly which products you will find there. You usually find mass products or products which have a very low margin, like electronics, or products which are on the cheaper end. Whereas when it comes to branded products, fashion brands, the expensive fashion brands or unique inventions, they prefer to go directly to the customer on sales platforms. And obviously there is a big competition at the moment between these two. So there is the clear leader, Amazon, leading the trend and marketplace growing. Whereas now, as you see there, standing sales platforms striking back, there are big plans from Shopify to enter into Amazon setups for individual shops. So the market in e-commerce, logistically, but also strategically is very much in motion. We move on to the next slide, and we're just spending 10 seconds about that because this is a slide actually that is pretty much ahead or before coronavirus times, where you will see the issues that online retailers face in Europe on the blue section. It was said before, multiple VAT legislations, thresholds, high costs to ship across the borders, local languages needed, so not just one. And you also have the customers who probably overall in our region here in Central Eastern Europe, they don't yet trust so much a French website to deliver the products on time in a good quality, such as the French. So there is a certain hesitation here. And all of a sudden it blasted. E-commerce is a winner out of the coronavirus crisis, I'd say. And many of these things that you can see on these slides has already been overcome. In contrary, it was actually meant to be a short-term growth. We have grown as our own as a company 30% within 3 months. It was tremendous. And the good thing or the fact for this e-commerce trend, it hasn't gone back. So people who now started to buy for the first time online and realized about cross-border shopping or shopping in the EU or from other countries, they stay with it. We move to the next slide, and I think that's the most important giveaway for today's section. This is one of our clients. We have lots of non-European Union customers, Swiss, US, and here I have taken what I call Brexit refugees. After the Brexit talks, we've been overflooded with UK shops who are looking for a setup in the European Union, given the fact that most likely, no one knows, there's going to be some borders, customs, and hassles, which also Swiss online businesses face. Yeah, and I think I don't need to comment to you on the slides on the left side. You can see pretty much the curve. Those are orders. I can't display you obviously the turnover, but this is a very nice example. We have, and this is in line with what I said before, we have gained 10 customers from the UK within January to March this year. 3 are gone already, so they are in the pace of fading out, lack of strategy. 7 are there, and they all follow this pattern. And that's a classical case how an e-shop, which is not in the European Union, addresses the European Union. And it started, of course, now I could say with Internel, but if we skip that, we look at April, and an online retailer from non-European Union countries usually just launches an e-shop. So that's a direct sales platform to the client, and he launches it in English and he launches it in euros, meaning the company can attract most markets immediately. Second, when you see the jumps, normally, and then we start to work big market by big market, which usually starts in Germany, is going to follow by France, Spain, Italy, depending where it goes. And the procedure is always the same. And I think that's the main takeaway from today. A market goes to Germany and starts to have a copy of its e-shop and obviously presents all the products in German languages. But not only that, even a Swiss company, if I would be in Switzerland or I'm in Poland now and I'm buying on a French site, I'm not sure, although it's a European Union, what's my law? How can I return the product? Who am I talking to if I have a problem? So this is when you launch a national site that you will have to have not only a national web store, but a customer care department. Someone who can do the social media chat. Phones are not yet, I would say, very much required, which speaks perfect German. That doesn't need to be in Germany. Actually, the one from the client is in the UK. You can buy it online, like you can buy an application, and moreover, you need to have a local return address. If someone wants to return a parcel, she doesn't want to return it to the UK and pay 15 euros for a product that may have cost 50, but would like to use a national identity, and that also means more comfort. To conclude that slide, so Euro first, a website in English, then the national markets. You can see here on the chart another move, multiple currencies. So now you can convert also Corona, Polish Zloty, Czech Corona, whatever. And then it continues to go market by market, and we expect next the Spanish web shop. And that's pretty much giving you a growth here in this example. This is a classical one. We have 7 of them of 500% in 1.5 years by adapting the right ways. Where I want to sell, who I want to address, which market, and if I go to Germany and if I will come to Poland one day, I will need to offer cash on delivery. I will need to understand that Polish people, such as Czech people, who like to use parcel lockers. They don't trust the post. Post, unlike in Switzerland here, is the least option. People don't like it. So all those things I tell you, And as we can go on the last slide, I will cut it pretty short. If you have more questions, here are my contact details and you can reach out. A fulfiller, it doesn't matter whether that fulfiller is called Internel, any logistics company has the market knowledge that an online retailer in a given market doesn't have. So reach out, source out, whether to Internel or others, as soon as you reach 500 orders a month, it makes sense to start to calculate and evaluate. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rolando. Questions who came in. Rolando, quick, we have 2 more minutes. For Rolando, you're talking about the trust issues and used France or the French language as an example. How is Switzerland positioned on the trust in Central Europe?
Very high. I mean, Switzerland, even as a Swiss in Poland, I have the same. We are very highly regarded. People even here in the area would like to buy, of course. There is the cliche, we have expensive products in Switzerland. So there is not a lot of traffic, Switzerland to Poland and vice versa on the e-commerce side. But we are Swiss companies, Swiss merchants are highly regarded as quality, on time, and obviously they expect logistics and the good quality.
Super. That's good to hear. The second question, another quick one, 1 minute. Which meaning does the cross-border e-commerce has for Swiss companies compared to other sales channels? So how highly rated is the cross-border e-commerce for Swiss companies? Rolando, I saw some statistics. Maybe you want to answer that as well?
Admittedly, I cannot say that specifically for Swiss companies. I mean, a quarter of what's going on in e-commerce, B2C sales is cross-border and it grows. And I think because of the many circumstances you advised before, the challenging VAT and so on, I think Switzerland does not participate as yet to what it could be, to what its potential would be. But from a Swiss company's perspective, I can't tell you seriously. Yeah.
I think I agree with you, Rolando. There's so much more potential in cross-border e-commerce for Swiss companies.